guys have gotten the hang of it too. In fiddle music, you should always assume that the eighth notes are supposed to be swung. Okay? They're not ever really going to be regular straight eighth notes. So if you see music on the page, like the music we're going to be looking at today, just go ahead and assume that it's going to be swung, that you're going to bounce them. And I find that it helps sometimes if you move back and forth when you're playing those eighth notes. Because it sort of feels like that anyway, right? So we want to get in the habit of playing our eighth notes that way so it starts to feel just as natural as playing them straight or felt when you want to do that. Okay? So what we're going to do, did you guys get the music? I know you two did. Did you see the songs that I chose for us to work on? Did you guys see this?
Caitlin, do we have that?
Okay, that's fine. I have brought spare copies. Let's see which one you want to start with. Not all of this entire tune. And as we go, we're going to learn what fiddle players do to make this sound like fiddle music as opposed to violin. Yes, right? We are going to get to slides. Slides are one thing that is very authentic for fiddle music. Open string drums are another thing. You guys know all this. So, let's start by looking at, let's look at the beginning, and let's assume that we're just playing this like we would play any other piece of music, okay? If you saw this in your Suzuki, it would sound like this. Okay? How do you guys like these? Does somebody want to volunteer to play for me, Maria, up to where I stopped? So I stopped at that last measure before the eighth notes. Can you play the first line for me? Hear how it's long, short, long, short, long, short, long, short. Somebody tried this much for me. Maria just went. Somebody else wants to be brave, maybe? So what we're going to do, you're going to have this music to take home. I want to try. I want to see what happens. When you get to the second measure, this part, I want to see what happens if you guys play an open A string while you play the other notes. Listen. Did you try that? Second measure. Once you get into the F sharp, the E1, you're going to start playing open A and E1 at the same time. Try that. Everybody see that in the third measure? A open, D2, A3, D2. Play that phrase for me. everybody. Whatever speed's comfortable for you. What I want you to do is put your finger behind the tape for your first finger on D. And when you start playing, I want you to slide your finger into position. Watch. Everybody's doing pretty well. Very good. Now, this is bonus. I wonder who will be able to do this. Can you add the open end while you slide? So when we've got drone strings like that, and drone strings just refers to having one of your strings open while the other string has a finger. Okay? When you have a drone string that is higher than the string that has a finger on it, like in this case, see how my finger's on the lower string, it's on the D, and the A is the open. You have to make sure that your finger is nice and tall and round, otherwise it'll fall down on top of the other string, right? Good. So, I want you guys to try and put all of that together. I'm going to play this for you twice, and I want you to listen very carefully. Then I'm going to have you play it back to me, okay? This is from the beginning up to that E, the D1, with all the stuff that we've talked about playing it. Here it is again. Slow it down. We're going to try it all together, okay? And the count off is going to be 1, 2, 3. Boom, 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 okay? 1, 2, 3. Here we go. Everybody get that? It's kind of weird, isn't it? One more time together. 1, 2, 3. You guys sound great. First part. This is the second part. Starts pretty much the same way, right? But something different happens at the end. After the you go to the fourth finger on E. See where I am? And the next to the last measure in the second line. So, Maria, why don't you play this much for me? I'm on the second line. I'm going to start in the second measure. So everybody listen to me and follow along on your page. Second measure of the second line. We'll play this much. Can you try that? And slow it down. 1, 2, ready, play. Ready, play. Last time. 2, ready, play. Okay. We'll get to it. This happens in all kinds of fiddle music, fast and slow. When you've got an open string, that is the same note as the string below it, played with the fourth finger. So in other words, an A is the same note as the D4, right? G4 is the same note as an open D. Okay? A4 is the same note as an open E. So in fiddle music, a lot of times, people have long notes, notes that are sustained, that are an open string. They will play the open string and the fourth finger on the string below it at the same time. And also, they like to slide the fourth finger into place. They've got a whole bunch of stuff going on. Hear that? That's two notes sounding at once. An E here, fourth finger on A, and an E here, that's open E. Right? See how that works? So what I want everybody to do is take your fourth finger and put it between the third and fourth finger tapes on your A string. Is to play the A string and the E string at the same time. And as you're playing, I want you to slide the fourth finger up until it matches the pitch of the open E string. That's a lot to remember, isn't it? Listen to me do it, okay? Sort of an advanced technique too. So, if you put that in context, we're going to put it in that measure. You see where I am in the third measure in the second line? So Maria, would you play for me this much since you've already seen it to you? Third measure. With the slides that are different than the notes on the page. First, we're swinging all the eighth notes, so we don't have any. Instead, we've got, right? Also, we're adding a drone string, an open A string, to the second measure. The next thing we talked about doing was sliding into that D1 in the last measure of the first line and playing the A string above it, right? It's a lot so far. And then the next line, which starts the same way, we have our drone string and our slide. Very good, very good. So, two brave volunteers. Notice that very last line of the music is exactly the same as the second line. So you've already learned that much, right? So what we're going to do is play the first two measures of the third line. Who's going to be my volunteer? Maria is... Actually, Abby, would you mind? Since you're people's music. Can you look at third line. Raised. Okay. And this is what the first two measures sound like. It's what the first two measures of the third line, the B part, sound like. Can you play that much for me? This to this. Does it sound better? More authentic? More fiddly? So, try the first two measures, but assume that there is an open D to be played with every note. See where we are on the page? Okay. And then the song ends just by repeating the second. So you can do your fourth finger drum trick. So what we're going to do is this much. It is again. So remember this part? Here it is again. 1, 2, 3. Very good. Now once by yourself. Just learned it. And you're going to have to play some people's lines that weren't your lines the first time. So, yeah, we'll play it a few times in a row. And I want you to try all of your tricks, all of your embellishments, all the things that you can remember that we learned about sliding and droning. Okay? And unison notes. And swinging eighth notes. It's a lot that we covered today. Okay, whole song. Are you going to be playing, Maria? Everybody see? Be careful not to bow one another in the head. Like that. Right. Sorry about that. Okay. We ready? Everybody safe? Safe distance? Okay. 1, 2, 3.